enjoying renting his apartment on Airbnb, but it was a lot of work and he was traveling. So one day he asked me for a favor to manage his apartment while he was away. His apartment was looking like a man cave. So it was a beautiful apartment with harbor views, with a lot of potential, and guests loved it because the view was amazing. It was in Cremont Point.
This is Property Investory, where we talk to successful property investors to find out more about their stories, mindset, and strategy. I'm Tyron Shum, and in this episode, we're talking to the founders of property management service Made Comfy, Quirin and Sabrina, on how they transferred their entrepreneurial idea into a successful startup with substantial backing from the ex-owner of LinkedIn, amongst others.
Made Comfy. I'm a co-founder of Made Comfy and founded it together with Sabrina about now 2.5 years ago.
My background is South American, and together with Quirin, I'm running and growing Made Comfy.
And how did you both meet and start this business?
We met in 2014 through common friends. So at the time, I was working for Kellogg's. I was a commercial finance manager for Kellogg's, and a colleague of mine introduced me to Quirin, and it was the time when I was looking for a change on my career, and I think I met Quirin at the same time as well.
Yeah, I was back then working on my very first startup, and was working in a role where I was traveling a lot. And when I met Sabrina, I was sort of renting out my apartment in Cremont Point whilst I was traveling to sort of make a bit more cash for that other startup. And it was when we sort of started talking about business opportunities and things like that, just in general, that it came up that I had quite a few challenges with my apartment on Airbnb whilst it was renting out great. It was a bit of a challenge for me to manage it when I wasn't there. And that's sort of how we started on that.
Yeah, so Quirin was enjoying renting his apartment on Airbnb, but it was a lot of work and he was traveling. So one day he asked me for a favor to manage his apartment while he was away. And so I started doing a few things for him, managing the guests and the guest communication and helping our guests. And one day I just saw that he has his apartment advertised with this colorful, it was linen with birds, and his apartment was looking like a man cave. So it was a beautiful apartment with harbor views, with a lot of potential, and guests loved it because the view was amazing. It was in Cremont Point, but it needed a little help on the way the apartment looked. So what I did is that I went out shopping and I restyled his bedroom. So in the past, I also studied photography, so I took new photos of the place and I listed the apartment again. So what happened with the new styling of the place and the new photos is that the views doubled as well as the bookings that he was getting. And when we saw those results, we identified that we found the business idea we were looking for.
In order for their business to flourish, Quirin and Sabrina both moved into smaller places in cheaper suburbs.
One thing is when you have a startup, your cash flow and your income sort of goes down. So you pretty much, I guess one thing that you see all the shiny things of being an entrepreneur, and you hear a lot about the successful stories, but the path to that is really, really a long one. And you need to look at what expense do you need in life and what not. And what we pretty much did is focus a lot on bootstrapping Made Comfy at the beginning. ensure we can afford surviving whilst building that business. So that's why both of us moved into the inner west, away from the beaches and the North Shore, to make sure we are in a good position to work on our joint dream.
Prior to Made Comfy, Sabrina hadn't taken part in any startup business at all. However, Quirin had some experience as a restaurant owner in Germany.
My very first startup was sort of ish. And I was studying. I was waitering originally to make money, and then I sort of had a few different ideas than the owner of the restaurant, and I thought I can do that better, and open up my own restaurant, pub, cabaret bar in Germany whilst I was studying. It went really cool, really well. I had a lot of fun, learned so much. But when I got to the end of my study, I grew up in a small village in Bavaria with 200 people, everyone Catholic, everyone sort of has a proper job. And a proper job meaning you're employed by someone. I haven't had really a lot of maybe entrepreneurial inspiration and things that this is actually a great thing. So I thought, like, I didn't study and go to school to be a bartender or a bar owner, and I knew that I had to open more than just that one and sort of start something like that. But it was back then not in my mindset to literally do that. So I had joined a large company, but there in business development and management. It got me to Australia. That was great. But sort of for 10 years I was trapped in that kind of loophole, and it was only over here I got to a point that I couldn't develop myself anymore in the company. I realized, hey, I can do things myself. I don't have to be employed by someone. When the eyes opened again, it was about 2013 when I finished my MBA here at the AGSM. I was together with a few inspiring entrepreneurs that sort of helped me to open my eyes on that side, that there is more than just working for a company.
Beginning his first startup wasn't easy, which meant a lot of lessons to be learned along the path to success.
So it's a digital startup to capture time and attendance in the mining industry. Everything is done with pen and paper. And we saw the opportunity to really streamline that by having a product that's tailored to the needs of that industry. Well, there were a lot of learnings for that. It was in time and attendance for the mining and construction market where I used to work, and I did it together with a former business colleague, and it was a lot of learnings. We thought we built the perfect product because we need a market. We raised money in a way that money was important, but we maybe didn't look into the big picture. We didn't really look into the culture of the company, the values, and a lot of things were great, but a lot of things didn't go so well for me, I guess, personally. So I learned a lot of lessons. So number one is culture and values are first in your company. If you don't focus on that and build that and make sure everyone is aligned and bought in by that and sold to those, it is almost impossible to have a great company. The other one is it's not about the money that you raise, it's about the people you get on board and support you, which is so important. You can be the best person in the world. If you don't have a network around yourself that nurtures and helps and supports you, it's really, really difficult to really be successful. And the last one, it's all about fun. You need to have fun, and it's about, of course, growth and the number of targets. But at the end, you need to have fun and passion for what you do. And if you're not passionate for really what you do, especially starting a company, it is really, really difficult to keep on pushing when it's dark. And those are the three main lessons that I learned.
The inspiration of Made Comfy was born from Sabrina and Quirin's combined skills and the idea to create a company, which provided a way to cater to travel-happy property owners who ran out their investments and need someone to manage their property while they're away.
With Made Comfy, I guess when we discovered Made Comfy, it's a bit, I don't know, like you almost like in a relationship, you see the partner of your life the first time, you know, this is incredible, she's the one. And that was a bit like for both of us when we discovered the potential of Made Comfy, that we saw like it is not just a great idea and a great like way to build a company. There's so much around that we have all those win situations with property owners to have a more flexible and higher income solution with their property for the guests that will travel and have an amazing experience that is not as boring as in a hotel or in a service apartment. You live like a local. I would say, like when you book an Airbnb and you book a room, you meet the owner as well. But if you book a house or apartment, it's pretty much a shell, and the owner is either somewhere on holiday, a different time zone, and you don't really have this experience. And we give my guests that experience to be close. And then for us, it's an amazing space. It's a growing space. It's in a sharing economy. It's sort of new grounds every week, every month, and that we are able to innovate and discover new ways of having new grounds that are great for our owners or for our guests.
You can see our backgrounds are not necessarily into property and or hospitality, and I think to create something new, you really need to have different point of views and a different perspective to solve, I would say, new problems as well. If you look into my background, so my background is in finance. So I worked for most of my career was working for fast-moving consumer goods. So it was mainly Colgate-Palmolive and Kellogg's, both amazing companies. And, you know, I see my corporate career as a necessary step to be where I am, to be ready to kind of run and build a business as well. And I think, when you are solving a new problem, you need a fresh, perspective.
Quirin and Sabrina's experience in property investing has also made a positive impact in the way they view things.
I have a property in Perth, and I can feel the pain of property investors when you have a negative cash flow. So I purchased a new property in Perth in 2012. And at the beginning, my cash flow was great. But in the last 2 years, I have been cash flow negative because the property value in Perth is been in decline. And I can empathize with property investors when you see the property value, for example, in Sydney going up, but the yield decreasing. And it's true that you can look into capital gains, but in the day-to-day, you really need to have that solvency to cover for that gap of a decreasing yield. So, and I think this is a problem we are solving at the moment, increasing the yield of property investors and generating positive cash flow for property investors as well. We
were using Airbnb for a while and have been hosting for a while, so we've had over 4 years experience now in total on hosting and welcoming guests, which is maybe where the majority of the work lies in managing that the guest side. At the end, the guests pay you the return.
So, what has been the experience with this from a property owner's perspective?
When I started, it was in 2013. Airbnb just launched the year before, and it was pretty new. There were not that many people maybe booking, and they booked almost anything. Like I had my man cave with a cardboard box as a side table for my bed, and I got 5-star reviews and great. But what it did for me personally, it helped me to significantly increase the return that I have to cover my life at that point. So, Made Comfy, the way we started Made Company, Airbnb helped us not only as a business but also by renting out our own properties on Airbnb, helped us to finance the whole thing. So if you look at that, we now have a team of over 35 employees. They are all at the end. They have a job because we were able to rent out our properties on Airbnb to have a higher return. That's simply not to waste it, but to invest it back into the economy. So it helped us for that a lot. And what we see in other customers we have, it helps them to try to have a bit of a less stressful time in regards to cash flow, or to simply acquire another property. It's one thing is when you're wealthy and you don't know where to put your money. The other thing is when you have a normal job and you want to build your property portfolio, you only have a certain cash flow available to finance that. And where we are at the moment with the interest rate, it's not going to go further down. It's going to potentially up again in the next couple of years, and not everyone is equipped for that. So for those owners, it is a great opportunity. Now, when you said about the certainty of revenue, one thing is if you don't know what you do and you have a fixed price, then of course your occupancy might be average and you might not get a booking. It's a bit like if you are selling on eBay, right? So if you sell on eBay something and you have no idea about how much let's say you sell a laptop, right? And you say, I might get $2,000 for that. And you've got no idea how much you can get, right? And it's a learning curve for you to understand how much you can get for this laptop. Now, on the Airbnb side of things, you have to imagine you have to do this every day. Every day you have to understand how much your laptop, being your apartment or your property, is worth on Airbnb. Because you don't want to leave money on the table, and also you don't want to leave your property empty. And that's one part that we developed over the last couple of years. Our algorithms and the data that we collect, that we can predict the rate that we advertise a property on Airbnb or Booking.com or TripAdvisor in a way that it is very likely to be booked at a good rate. And it helped us to achieve returns that are on average 40% higher than any other Airbnb host is able to do. And simply by knowing that. And there's so much about understanding your market, the pricing, and having a property not like my main case, but a property that looks great and is sort of inspiring when you have a guest trying to book your property.
In managing people's properties and tenants, many different challenges arise that Sabrina and Quirin needed to overcome. Even simple things like tenants losing their keys.
You do have challenges pretty much every day that you need to solve, and that's like simple things from guests losing their keys, or the air conditioner stops working, or the dishwasher stops working, and things like that.
Oh wow, really simple stuff.
Yeah, it's all these things you don't think about when you go away.
On securing their financial backing for Made Comfy, they also identified their core values: empowerment, agility, trust, and the wow factor, which allowed them to align their values with potential investors.
When I totally invested at that point, that was sort of late last year, and then we pretty much met a few of the network, like a few of them are like Rolf Hansen and Peter O'Connell. They are the previous founders and CEO and chairman, ex-CEO and ex-chairman of Amazon, who have been incredible. They invested in us as well, and they help us, especially on building our culture and in our values. And they helped us with our full-day workshop with Rolf. Is a very charismatic, very passionate person. An incredible guy. And we sort of we had our values that we come to that point. Sort of from what we knew from our corporate world, it was more of a sentence. And we had this workshop where he said, look, we need this to be maximum 4 single words. And me being German, I thought, okay, in German you can do that. You just build a sentence becomes a word. But in English, it's like I've got no idea how we get to there. And he helped us to really align our our personal values with the vision of the company and the market we're in, to get to our values that we now have, which is agility, empowerment, trust, and wow. And everything we do now is aligned around those 4 values. Major decisions that we do, recruitment that we do, the way we interact with our customers, is all aligned with those values. So it's all about trust. We manage people's biggest assets. It's about transparency, being open about mistakes, always telling the truth.
The aha moment for Sabrina came when Made Comfy began to make an impact as a business. She says they're constantly looking for ways to improve the company, to better provide for their customers.
We have been continuously improving the services, getting the service more sophisticated. So improving how we manage pricing, getting a lot of knowledge with data on how the different software perform, where it's best to have short-term rental instead of long-term rental. Also improving the look and feel of the properties that we manage and how that impacts on bookings and the premium that you can get for your property as well. So this has been, a process of continuous improvement, and I think we will continue to, get just better and better. And if you see the market as well, the guest is being constantly kind of evolving and asking for more as well out of the Airbnb host or provider.
Quirin and Sabrina's company, Made Comfy, is made for people who want to rent out their properties. Styling and housekeeping is also part of their service, making the property more attractive to potential tenants.
The maybe target audience of ours are investors that are maybe not yet on Airbnb or sort of heard of it and don't think, I'm not sure what is behind that. And what we do, so usually when you have a property, you have it rented out long term, it's empty and you have a long term tenant in there. So what we do from the beginning, we give you a 12-month revenue prediction based on our data that is surrounded by similar properties like yours. So you get an understanding what your cash flow is over the next 12 months compared to long term and compared to if you manage it yourself on Airbnb. So that was the very first thing we do to really understand what's the risk. And if you see, there are big gaps in between or there are some potential, like you're not going to do better than long term, then we flag it at that stage. What we do as next one is that we furnish the property. So you need to, one thing is the location, the type of property, which is really important. We always tell, when we do talks, we always educate about it's so important the way you furnish and style your property, because that's the product that people book and pay for. And so we do the furnishing and the styling. We provide a 24-month interest-free financing for that, so there is no additional outlay that any kind of investor can afford that. And we focus on making the property to stand out in the market.
So how can property investors tap into this service?
The way it gets booked, to understand it maybe as well, is when you are on Airbnb or Booking.com, you have a location roughly, and then you have a rough budget. And as we all know, when we travel, we have always a budget range that is bigger than what we wanted to spend initially. So that's what happens first. Then you see like a lot of listings, and you look for a listing that is making you dream. And that's where your property has to be. It has to be up in that listing, and it has to have that one photo that is incredible, like get people to dream. And then click on it, and then they read the first couple of paragraphs, look at the other photos, and this is when you pretty much sell them the apartment or the house. They look at the reviews, if that's all great, then they look at the price, and at that point they are so close to book that you've pretty much got them on your property. So that's all that part is what we do. We make sure it stands out. We take amazing photos. We make sure the mattress, the pillows, the linen, and the towels is incredible. We are using a pillow and doona range that the Shangri-La Hotel is using. so it's top range. But we are able to get wholesale prices on that, which we pass on to our investors. We then do all the pricing. The pricing is an algorithm that we have in the back in a system that communicates that to all the portals to make sure every night we advertise it at the highest rate where we still get a booking. And then we do all the guest communication. Guests will ask you a lot of questions at their time zones. So if someone from the US books, you get a 2 a.m. inquiry, it's important to reply to that and make sure that they sort of book. We do all that. We then, when guests book and arrive, we do all the communication, make sure they know how to check in. We welcome them. When they check out, make sure they had a great time. We then turn around everything, do the cleaning, housekeeping. We provide like little chocolates, shampoos, and things like that. And welcome the next guest. That's pretty much what we do on that side. And for the homeowners, property owners, we have a portal where we sort of provide full transparency on the bookings and on the income that you're going to have. You get monthly statements. And you're always pretty much up to aware of what your return is. And then as an end result, we are achieving returns that are around 30 to our best properties 140% above long term, and consistent. So this is sort of what we are achieving.
Where there are travellers booking on Airbnb from overseas and the property is located further from the CBD, data comes into play to determine the likelihood of your property getting rented out.
It all depends. For example, we have a couple of properties in Arncliffe, which is like sort of at the airport, and we have a house in Ashbury. There may be suburbs where you think like Airbnb wouldn't work, but what you see there is no hotel in that area, and there are not many Airbnbs because people think it doesn't work. But you have quite a few people that are staying there for local businesses or to visit local family. Also, it's a bit cheaper as well. So you get, especially with houses, you get families that don't have maybe the budget to stay. So I would say it depends. The hot suburbs are definitely the inner city, inner west, eastern suburbs, lower North Shore, northern beaches. It is not. It doesn't mean that your suburb maybe doesn't work out. It always depends on what your long-term return is, and again, what the potential demand in your areas. And we use data to tell us that.
For those thinking of becoming a potential landlord on Airbnb, utilising Made Comfy means added value to your property.
It doesn't almost matter how much we get paid. The main focus of that is that we increase the net return of the landlord. And the way we work on a commission. We take a 20% commission on the revenue that we generate, and on average, it's around 40% higher than what you would achieve yourself on Airbnb. So you're sort of better off paying us and using us than managing it yourself. Plus, you have no work, and that's the only thing you have. We have a small setup fee that is paying for the photography and for the early listings. It's $250, but that's about it. When you look at the returns that we generate, for example, we've just onboarded a property in Bondi, 2-bedroom, incredible place. She made $900 long term, and that's gross before paying any agent. And now we got bookings for the first 2 months, and she's making $2,000 on average a week with that property. Now she wouldn't be able to do that without our pricing and without our furnishing and services.
To ensure there is a consistent cash flow, Sabrina and Quirin undertake a financial analysis to gauge the potential of the property in the long and short term.
We have been in the market almost for 3 years now, and we are generating for our property investors consistent returns. So I know that a lot has been said on seasonality and that the return is not stable, but that is not what we are experiencing with our current customers. So as Quirin, we based a lot of what we do on data from the whole short-term rental market, as well as the data from the properties that we manage. So the first thing and the first step is doing a financial analysis on what can be generated with the property. We wouldn't take on board a property that don't have the potential to deliver a higher return. So we also reject properties if we see that the delta that we can achieve between long term and short term is not high enough. And I think that is key for the success of achieving high returns and generating consistent cash flow. Another thing that is really, really important is, as we have mentioned before, that the pricing is properly managed based on supply, demand, and so to achieve the highest occupancy rate possible, and that the property has a great look and feel, so that it's the first choice when the guest is trying to book. Based on our experience, we can generate consistent returns for our investors.
Well, maybe just add on the demand side, we do a lot of research as well on travelers. So in 2010, there have been 2.7 international visitors to Sydney. That sounds a lot, 2.7 million. That's excluding anyone who comes from interstate, so purely international. Now, last year, 2016, we had 3.7 million international visitors. That's a million more. So if you look into an increase in demand on that side, there have not been hotels and service apartments built to really capture that demand. So it's the city of Sydney does a lot to attract more guests, and the same is in Melbourne and Brisbane. Tourism is a big industry in Australia. So it's a growing demand, and you just need to make sure that you are advertising to those tourists and travelers, and to make sure that your price is where it should be, that you get that booking.
Yeah, something really important as well is not only Airbnb, it's having a proper marketing strategy and marketing through the right channels, because Airbnb is just one of many platforms. And to mitigate that risk, you need to be across multiple platforms as well, as Booking.com, TripAdvisor, Estates, the HomeAway group as well.
In terms of growth for Made Comfy for the next few years, they are looking to increase their asset base through appealing to a wider target audience.
We've got now around $500 million in assets that we manage. Now that is from a small studio in Newtown up to like $10-15 million houses in the eastern suburbs or lower North Shore. And that's currently growing. We're growing with a rate of over 20% a month. We are opening up in Melbourne in 2 weeks, which is a major step as well, and in the Central Coast in November as well. So this is where we are growing at the moment. The growth is a lot as well on making sure we provide the service that is required and also expected from our property owners and from our guests. There's a lot of investment going into our customer service side, onto the data side to ensure we are continuously providing the best pricing strategy and also the best return for our owners.
And for the owners who wish to treat their property as a holiday house, that is possible too.
We have a certain minimum time that we need to be able to manage it, and that depends on the size of your property. But if you go away anything like 4 weeks plus, it's a great way to make sure you can either upgrade your holiday or pay off that mortgage quicker, or pay for a renovation that you wanted for a long time. So it gives you just simply more flexibility in your life, using that asset that you have, and making sure that other people can enjoy it as well.
In disrupting the industry through their business, Sabrina and Quirin have conditioned their mindset through resources by Tony Hsieh and Tim Ferriss.
The one book that we Sabrina and I both read it, loved, is Delivering Happiness. It's the book of the CEO of Zappos. Zappos is a
Tony Hsieh.
Exactly, Tony Hsieh.
Yeah, he's awesome. That's a great book.
Yeah, we love it.
Great book. It is written in a way, it's really interesting as well. But you learn so much about why why are they successful and why is he doing this? And he's describing a lot about the importance of culture and customer service and what customer service actually means. It's can recommend this to anyone who's in some kind of customer service business or interested in that. It's an incredible book, and so delivering happiness from Tony C.
Yeah, and in terms of other podcasts for entrepreneurs and people that want to get inspired on starting their own businesses on how to confront the challenges of building a business. So you can also, I'm really enjoying the podcast of Tim Ferriss, the author of the 4 Hours Work Week. Really inspiring, lots of great entrepreneurs sitting there with him and sharing their stories and their journeys as well.
A personal habit which has contributed to their success is to consider their failures as blessings and lessons learned.
One I think big mindset thing is look at failure and mistake in a different way. And I think the way we word failure and mistake is very negative. But when you look at it, any mistake you do or failure is like you get to a labyrinth and you realize there's a wall, right? You can't continue, and it's actually telling you that. So it's a great way to say, okay, it's an amazing learning experience that I will not continue and make this mistake again. So if you look into the whole like thing about lean startups or continuous improvement, it's all about the mindset of what making a mistake and what failure means, and being open to communicate and be open about a mistake or a failure is something we nurture a lot in Made Comfy, because it gives us a great opportunity to learn from that and to improve from that. And I learned so much more, I don't know how, but so much more with the things I did wrong in life and the mistakes I did. And I think I did only so many mistakes in my life that it should be really awful if it was as awful as people look at mistakes. But it enabled me to personally to get to a point where I am today, and I'm a very different person based on the mistakes I've made in personal life, in business, in just with myself, and I think that's a big thing, to really look into mistakes and failure in a different way and try to see the positive in it, what you can learn from that.
The opportunity to help others with their investment properties is an exciting prospect for the future of Made Comfy.
I think there are 3 things that are exciting. The opportunity to help property owners to have a higher flexibility financially and with their assets, and really enable all of Australia to really tap into that side of things. For guests to go away with this, wow, I had this amazing stay. I had an amazing time, and I really enjoyed staying here in Australia with Made Comfy. And the other big thing where I'm a big believer in, and it's the whole discussion at the moment around short-term rentals and the positive or negative impact it has with communities. And one big thing I'm really personally a strong believer is there is a place for short-term and for long-term. But at the end, it's all about people. And it simply is all about the way long-term rentals or short-term rentals are managed. Now, long-term rentals are regulated. You can't just do what you want with your property and do things. The same with development. There are certain rules you have to comply with, and I think that's currently lacking with short-term. There are a lot of grey areas, which is causing a lot of fear and unknowns with everyone. And to give you a great story, for example, with when we start in certain building complexes and neighbors or the owner is engaging us, and we always let the neighbors know and hey, here, this is what Made Comfy is, and this is what we are doing. And at the beginning, of course, often you get this, it's an Airbnb, and there will be parties and things like that. And we are very open, like say, look, there is no party. We have a strict no party policy. We are scanning every guest. We have IDs. So if there's anything, please always feel free to let us know and contact us. And there was this a neighbor in one of the apartments we have in Darlinghurst who, like, of course, the very first week called us and said, "Hey, as a guest," and they're like really loud the whole night. And he was maybe more contacting us to really complain. I didn't expect us to do anything. What we've done that morning, we contacted the guest and asked like what happened, and the guest said, "Look, yeah, we had a bit of a louder time, and we pretty much said, look, we can't have that." The guest didn't really see that as well, so we asked the guest to check out, simply because we had the right to do so because they violated our house rules. Now, the neighbor was simply, when he realized what happened, that the guest sort of left, right, was really impressed by, wow, like those guys are actually doing something about this. And if I had a long-term tenant next to me, like that person, I would have been stuck with that for 12 months. And now that person is gone, it's great.
This made a good impression on the neighbours, which prompted them to help out another guest.
Now, about 12 months later, we had a guest. She locked herself out. It's just amazing. The same neighbor realized what happened, saw her being locked out, and she was quite emotional. She had a meeting and everything, and she literally needed clothes to go to the meeting, and locked it. We couldn't get on time, and she couldn't. Yeah, she was just frustrated in a way. And then he was so open. He told her to come into his place. He gave her money to buy clothes to be able to go to that meeting, and said, "Don't worry, let's sort out that later when you come back." And seeing like how it was initially when there was this kind of negative thoughts about short-term rentals, to what it did to that person, simply because he knows that we care as much about the community as he does, that he's so supportive to a guest, just blew us away. Like to really realize what you can do when you manage it properly and when you are there.
To contact the owners of Made Comfy and to find out more about what they do, you can go to their website. They also have a calculator to help determine how you can add value to your own investment property through Sabrina and Quirin's services.
Yeah, so the best way is just going to our website, www.madecomfy.com.au, and we will be really happy to help.
What we have on the website is a calculator, so you can enter your address and number of bedrooms that you have, and it gives you an indication about how much you could earn. And then the next stage is to just click on a proposal button, and you get in touch with us, and we will do a 12 months proposal for your property, full analysis about the potential revenue, and that doesn't cost you anything.
Thank you to Quirin and Sabrina, our guests on this episode of Property Investory. If you want to hear more about their journey, then visit our website at propertyinvestory.com. Simply type in the search bar Quirin and Sabrina and select that episode to learn more about their story.